Hi, this is Jeff at the Well. In our devotionals this week, we are working our way through the last week of Jesus' life before the crucifixion. We are headed toward Easter on Sunday. Yesterday, we looked at Jesus going into the temple, overturning the tables of the money changers, interfering with commerce there. And he said, "My house is supposed to be a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of thieves." And as he did that, we looked at the idea that he called them out on the fact that they lived a life that didn't show any trace of God in what they did, and yet they showed up in a place of worship and said, "Hey, I'm safe here. God's going to be okay with me." Now, we're on Tuesday, so there's a lot we could choose from here. Jesus talks about the destruction of Jerusalem. He gets into it with the Pharisees and with the Sadducees. There's several things that happen during that. But I want to move to the very next thing that we read in the Gospel of Mark, and it's in Mark chapter 11. Jesus comes back to the temple on Tuesday after having cleared it out on Monday, and this is what happens, beginning in verse 27. They arrived again in Jerusalem, and while Jesus was walking in the temple courts, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders came to him. "By what authority are you doing these things?" they asked. "And who gave you the authority to do this?" Now notice, they didn't get on to him and say that what he did was wrong. They just asked, "Who gave you the right to do this? Where do you get this authority?" So Jesus answers, "I will ask you one question. Answer me, and I will tell you about what authority I am doing these things. John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men? Tell me." So what Jesus does is, in response to their question about where does authority come from, he asked them, do you even care about true spiritual authority? He uses the baptism of John the Baptist, who was a prophet, who was the forerunner for Jesus, and he says, was his baptism from heaven or was it from men? This is their response. They discussed it among themselves and said, if we say from heaven, he will ask, then why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, well, they feared the people, for everyone held that John was really a prophet. So they answered Jesus, "We don't know." Jesus said, "Neither will I tell you about what authority I am doing these things." Pay attention to what happened here. Their response showed absolutely no interest in truth and real, authentic spiritual authority. Because they didn't discuss whether John's baptism was actually from heaven or from men. They simply said, if we said it was from heaven, he'll say, "Why didn't you follow?" If we say it's from men, well, everybody thinks John was a prophet, we'll be in trouble. Their only concern was their position, their power, their place, their influence. It wasn't about spiritual authority. It wasn't about truth. They were only concerned about themselves. So they didn't even try to figure out what true spiritual authority was. I think about that. I think about that for me. A question that I like to ask myself regularly is, do I care about truth? Do I care about actual spiritual authority? You see, if I care about truth, then whatever I think, whatever I believe right now, I will push through it and look for truth in God's Word and find what He says and look for the spiritual authority that is there. On the other hand, it's very easy to become very content with where we are and to do things the way we've always done them, to believe what other people have told us, or even to believe what's convenient for us. And instead of asking, what is it that God says? What is real spiritual authority? What is truth? We content ourselves with what makes us feel okay. The thing I am convinced of is that when God is at work, when we are hearing His Word, when Jesus is leading us and we are walking with Him, our life is going to be uncomfortable and we will be changing what we do. We don't get the option, if we are disciples of Jesus, to simply say, I'm pretty comfortable. I like this place. I like the way things feel here. I'm going to stay here. Jesus will consistently ask us, do you want truth? Or do you want your own position, your own place, your own comfort? What I want to do is I want to be the kind of person that looks for truth and authentic spiritual authority. I hope you'll join me in that. I'll see you again tomorrow.